getting closer to pushing me off of life's little edge. G'day guys, Chaos Crew. This is the Chaos Chronicles, and today we're going to talk about drugs in jail and getting drugs in jail and what drugs are in jail and what not, but mainly we're going to talk about getting drugs in jail. Alright, so as you guys know, I've already said this on many videos before that drugs in prison is a big problem, and I would go as far as to say 85% of the prison population is on some kind of drug that they're not supposed to be on. And yeah, it's a big problem, and therefore it leaves open a big market, and people want to find out ways that they can get their drugs inside. And you believe me, it's a race. It's a race to find the best way and who can get the best drugs in. So I said at the start, we'll concentrate around people bringing in drugs. So obviously, you know, we've spoke about this on other videos before, that, you know, I'm not going to give away the absolute secrets of doing it, but it's quite obvious that it happens at the visit centre, and you better believe me that some of the things that happen in there would blow your absolute mind. And well, I will say this, at Port Phillip, so at Port Phillip Visit Centre, right up until like 2016, 17 maybe, so when you left the visit centre you had a key, and so you then went to your locker, you opened your locker and you got your stuff out, and then you went to the screws, right? So obviously you being able to get your stuff out of the locker before, you know what I mean, left things very easy to do. So like some people just used to put it in the pants of their pocket, what they were wearing, what they put in the locker, and they would pick them up. The screws would watch them put them on. They're not going to search the pockets because they already done that on the way through. And and that's how they used to do it. And there was many other ways, but just that in itself, like them being able to access their own lockers and go to that before you go to the screws, like, and that was a big mistake by their part. And they were doing that for 20 something years before they realised that was a bad thing to do. And so don't worry, I'm not giving anybody up by saying what I just said. It's a common fact that it's a common known fact that the visit centre at Port Phillip Prison was the easiest place to get drugs, you know. And then obviously, you know, people swallow them, people put them up their bum. How they do that, well, that's their prerogative. But they do that, and then they go back to the unit, and then they will either stick their fingers and retrieve it out of the anal passage, or they will spew up. And some of the things that I have seen over the years for ways of trying to get people's drugs from in their stomach out their mouth, like, oh my god. So I have seen people swallow, I've seen someone drink about half a litre of vinegar, which that in itself was a pretty good feat, I say. And then a very common one is people swallow dishwashing detergent, and then, you know, many other things, washing detergent for your clothes. People mix that with powder and with water, the powder with water, and then drink it. And I guess the whole point is to make something go on in your stomach so you spew it out. And most of them do work, but like, my god, do people put themselves through hell. I've also seen people doing handstands on the corner, on the toilet. So somebody doing handstands on the toilet with somebody holding their legs, kind of like plunging them up and down, while somebody's punching them in the stomach, trying to get them to spew their drugs up. And yeah, and another funny one, so somebody I know actually got drugs in for somebody else, and they actually nearly got offed for this. And so they swallowed it, and it did not come back up. And the thing was, he swallowed it for some people who you don't want to mess around. And so this is another reason what I'm going to get into after this. So like, he swallowed it and it just wouldn't come out. There's nothing I can explain about it. It got to like a week, it still wasn't out. It got to like 2 weeks, it still wasn't out. It got to like 3 weeks, it still wasn't out. And then it just did not come out. And then I kid you not, it got to like 2 months later and I had the person who'd done it come up to me and say, you need to tell that person that he needs to get that out of the person who gave him the stuff said this to me, you need to get him to get that out of his stomach today, or I am going to get that out of his stomach today. Now, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to realise what I'm talking about there. But, yeah, that was, yeah. Sorry guys, had a phone call. But yeah, anyway, that guy said you need to tell him that he needs to get that out of his stomach today, or I am going to get that out of his stomach today. Now, I don't even know how this happened, and I don't know, I know it wasn't cut out, so I don't know how they got it out of his butt, but I can promise you right now that I don't believe that this would have been the same one. I honestly think that his stomach acids would have just eaten it. And so anyway, he produced some kind of a balloon and it was just poo and it was horrible, you know what I mean? But like, that's how people do it. And this is what I want to talk about. So drugs in jail, that's how they get it in. But let me tell you something right now. So people also do this so they think that it's going to get them some kind of stature in jail and say you're a nobody and you don't know anyone. So a lot of people will take it upon themselves to kick drugs in, that's what they call it, kicking it in. And so say they get it in and then when they get there they think that they're a big shot because they got drugs. And then let me tell you, if you are a nobody and you do that and you kick in drugs, by the end of that day, what you kicked in that drugs, you are probably going to have a couple of black eyes and 0 drugs. And I promise you right now, you know, it is one of the silliest things you can do. People think that if they do this, it is going to give them some kind of a stature in jail, and it will not. All it will do is you'll have people that will be your absolute friend for a moment, and then you better believe it that very soon you're going to get a swift kick up the backside and people are going to be taking your stuff. Now, there is this thing that people do. It is called the Pentridge enema. Now, if you guys know what an enema is, it's when they do procedures up your backside, the doctors. So Pentridge was one of the hardest prisons in Victoria that's closed down now. And so, yeah, they 100% would do the Pentridge enema, and I've heard of them doing that with as little as 2 butter knives with the back ends of them and going in to do day procedures. Excuse me. And so, you know, that's another thing with drugs in jail, and bringing them in is not ever going to get you any kind of stature. It might make you feel like a king for a day, but that's about it. And like I said, you're probably going to end up with a couple of black eyes as well. Now, you know, this video is on drugs in jail, so I'm trying to like cover everything on a broad spectrum. And I did say that, you know, up to 85% of the prison population at most times are on some kind of a drug. Now, also, the jail does give out for people who are withdrawing from opiate drugs. They do put people on the methadone, and they do put people on the Suboxone. And now they also give people the Suboxone injection, which is a liquid that they inject into your stomach and it turns hard in your stomach. I don't know how that works, but that's what it does. And so the jail actually gives these people these drugs, and this is a big problem. I don't want to say too much, but of course if somebody's on Suboxone, and let me tell you now, Suboxone is called BIFF in jail, and that is the biggest drug problem in any jail in Victoria right now, is the BIFF problem. Now, when I say 85% of the population are on BUP, I will say that probably 65 to 75% of them are on the BUP, and not by the doctor. They're getting up in the morning and they're going on the hunt to find BUP. So, you know, when I talk about drugs in jail, I can't talk about BUP enough. How much it's actually even just changed jail, to be honest. It has actually changed jail. And yeah, like, it's a real big thing, and I'm not going to lie. When I done my jail sentence, because I just said at the start, if you're going to put me in jail for a third of my life for saving a female's life, well then I'm going to turn into a very, very nasty person. And I did do that. And yeah, it got me in a lot of trouble. So, yeah, I took drugs every day, and I'm not going to lie, I took BUP every single day. I used to get up in the morning, and that was my plan for the day. I had to get BUP off someone. Now, there are people in that jail, like I said, that are on BUP, and you better believe that most of them get that out. So they go to the doctors in the jail to get it, and then people hide it in their mouths, right? So they use this thing which is called a boat, and I can't explain it to you because it's given away too much, but they put it in their mouth, bada bing, bada boom. They get back to the unit, they take the boat out, and the boat is full of BUP. So if you watch another one of my video, I pretty much covered how the boat works. And so, you know, people are waiting for these people to get back from their BUP. And that usually happens at 10 o'clock, which is called BUP o'clock. And at that time, at most fences at the jail, you can see people at Port Phillip anyway, along the fence line, trying to get BUP off these people that get their BUP out. So the thing is, with the BUP, right, it is a little strip that's about this big. It's the same size as a Listerine strip, and that's meant for one person. So they get that out, they put it in the boat, they take it back to the unit, and they roll it out to its original size. And then what they do is they cut that into about 20 to 30 pieces, and then they sell each and every single one of those pieces for one pouch. Well, the pouches aren't there anymore, so $30. So that is 20 times $30 off one strip. Now, some of these people are on 4 strips a day. It's a big market, guys. And this is why they're never going to stop the drugs in jail, because they're giving the drugs to these people. Now, me as myself, like, you know, I'm not going to say go do a jail sentence and go get on the drugs, but like, you know, man, I'm not going to lie, and you know, I am not telling you to go and get on the drugs. It is not a good idea, especially in jail. But like, my jail time flew, I think, because of this. I don't know, because I was just wasted and fighting and just doing whatever, stabby, and that was my jail sentence. So, you know, yeah, it's just drugs in jail. It's a big problem, especially in Victorian jails. And you know, there's so much. I remember at one time, actually, when I was at Port Phillip, there was that much ice there, so there was that much meth in the jail. So I had a BUP habit at the time, so I used to go out and find BUP. I swear, I would go out to find BUP, and if I wanted to have the ice, I literally could have came back with ice off about 5 or 6 different people. There was that much in the jail. You could not find any BUP in the jail, and you could only find ice. Now that is another problem. I'll wrap it up with the ice. The meth is a big problem in jail. It's a big problem in society here in Australia, especially in Victoria, and it is a massive problem in our jail system. Now you can just imagine, like, when I say 85% of the jail population take drugs, so if a big batch of ice rocks up, you better guarantee that these people are having that ice. So when 85% of the population are taking ice, it does not leave for a good time in the yard. So someone who doesn't touch meth, It is so crazy when you've got, like I said, 85% of the yard. Most yards have got a few hundred people in there. So when you've got a few hundred people off their heads on meth, it is actually crazy. The first day, everyone stays away from everyone because everyone's paranoid. But the day after the meth lobs, you better guarantee that people are getting stabbed that day. People are so off their heads on meth and so paranoid and so delusional about what's going on. People stab their own mates like it is a big, big problem in jail. Now, I'm not going to lie. I have tried it in jail. Absolutely hated it. And I do not know. Like I said, I had a bupe habit in jail. I wanted to try drugs. There was no bupe. I tried the meth. I absolutely hated it. It is a shit drug. But, you know, staying up, like you're doing double time. So you're doing jail time out in the yard. You're not sleeping. You're doing all the time in your cell. You go back out in the yard. You do your jail time. You go back in your cell for another 12 hours not sleeping. You're doing double time. Stuff that. And plus, like I said, everyone's very, very stabby after the meth arrives. But yeah, drugs in jail is a big, big, big problem. And there's nothing I can say that's gonna put a silver lining on it. Like, it is so, so bad. And like I said, 85% of the prison population are on drugs. And I mean drugs that have came in illegally, or people are getting their medication out illegally. And it is a big, big problem. And the truth is, I absolutely think that the jail let it happen because, in a way, it keeps the population a little bit controlled because, you know what I mean? People do not want to get locked up because there's drugs around. People are selling drugs. They don't want to get put in the slot. And I honestly think that the screws let it happen. And I honestly believe that that they turn a blind eye to it. And especially in the private prisons. Now, I can tell you, the ones that are paid off turn a blind eye to it. But I believe there's something they're told in the mornings, like, don't catch the drug dealers today, because, like, fucking hell, mate, there's so much drugs at Port Phillip Prison in Victoria. It is absolutely crazy. But yeah, that's going to be the end of that video, guys. And so it comes to the time where I tell you guys, like, all this crazy stuff I'm talking about, and you guys are sitting here right now going, stuff that, but you're living the life that I was living. You know, you can only say stuff that for a certain amount of time. I promise you, if you're sitting there right now watching my vids, as I know that there are a lot of crooks watching my vids, and if you guys think that there's going to be that time isn't going to come when you get arrested, or you're too smart for the police, you know, there's a song about it. I thought the law and the law won. Mate, they say that for a reason. You cannot beat the law. You might be able to beat one officer, this and that, but you cannot beat the law. You are fighting a losing battle, and you are gonna end up in jail. Guys, I know it's good money selling drugs, and I know everything's awesome and this and that, but you can make that same money doing legal things. There's so much money to be had out there now in the social media world. You know, if you've got a story to tell, if you've had a hard life, if you're living a hard life right now, just pick up a camera and start recording your stories, because I guarantee you there is somebody out there that wants to listen to your story. Now, there are 7 billion people on this planet. Now, I don't know how many people watch YouTube, but it must be in the billions. And I can guarantee you, out of that billions, there are a few hundred, a few thousand that want to hear your story. So, you know, in saying that, you know, just if you really put your time and your heart into this social media stuff, which is what helped me get away from drugs, what helped me get away from that life, is this social media stuff, guys. Invest your life into this and see if, just give it a try, guys. It is worth a try. It helped me, and I guarantee you, if you have a story to tell, there are people out there that want to hear it. And you know, it's much better to be telling your stories here on a platform than telling them in the cell in jail to your mates. You know, being another one of those person who's sitting there telling bullshit stories that no one's going to believe, no one cares about, people are going to think you're a dickhead. That's where you're going to end up, guys. Do you know what I mean? Put the bag away, think about your kids, and if you've got a story to tell, jump on the tube and tell your story, guys. And because I promise you there are people that want to hear it. Alright guys, I have been the Chaos Chronicles, you have been the Chaos Crew, and you've been absolutely awesome. That wraps it up for one more video. Drugs in jail, it's a big problem, and I ain't gonna lie. But that's it for that, guys, and I will see you in the next vid. Ciao.
You're getting closer to pushing me off a life's little edge.